What's up, you guys? Johnny Cruz here. It has been a long overdue while since I last did a YouTube video. So, ladies and gentlemen, um, it's so good to be back on YouTube because, for one, the last time I have streamed on YouTube, as far as gaming wise, um, I have basically went through a lot of different dead ends as far as game streaming, but I have run into a lot of not obstacles, I would say. It's more like I have found a really new hobby that involves gaming, but also at the same time my huge love for cars. And what better way to do it than playing one of my favorite classical games that have made a big comeback of Gran Turismo. So about a year ago, they released Gran Turismo 7, and I was seriously hooked on how everything has been um, like updated. The physics and everything else is a little bit similar to the last Gran Turismo game I ever played, which was Gran Turismo Sports, I would say, but that was only PlayStation 2, and it was through a buddy of mine. I could have mentioned his name, but anyways. So yeah, I had posted a while ago, well, not a while ago, probably like maybe a minute ago, on TikTok that I mentioned my sim journey begins. That's right, you guys. Which is all the more reasons why I actually built myself a sim rig. Not a real expensive, fancy, smanchy machinery sim rig. More like of a cheap. I started off with something cheap, which is something very good as far as making my very own cockpit, but I went straight to Amazon. The list of stuff that I bought from Amazon, well, it's probably just one thing, which is the SimRig cockpit, which is all listed down below on the description below of where I purchased it at, which is Amazon. And for those of you that are going to be brand new into sim racing, you could always find other cheaper companies. My recommendation would be looking through what are your options through Amazon, and of course, if you are really getting into sim racing. So yeah, um, I bought I forgot what it was called though. I had the brand name a while back, but I had this cockpit right next to me. If you guys could see, right there. But I'm not going to reveal it to you guys because, for one, it is pretty much um, very like old. I would say 2 years old. So it has been sitting for a while. So I have been long overdue with getting a lot of necessities for making my very own sim rig. So I started out with the cockpit, and then a couple years later, I started looking through different brands of like steering wheels, pedals, shifters, all that necessities that you need for making yourself or getting yourself into sim racing. So I looked through a lot of research through Google. They have a good beginner of sim racing steering wheels has always been Logitech, or a second best brand was Thrustmaster. All of them are great except for one thing. I like to drive in a different style of steering wheel styles. With the Logic G29, they have like all these wheels that I see through both Logitech and Thrustmaster. The only thing I noticed about with those two brands, I mean, even though they are switchable, but you got to buy a lot of necessity parts for it, as far as wheel wise and connecting it to the wheelbase. It's been those two companies, which is Thrustmaster and Logitech. Not that I'm hating. Oh, Not that I'm hating other brands or anything like that, but other than that, I have looked up to another brand of sim racing tech, which is Fanatec. Hence why I have this particular wheel right here. Sorry if the ring light is super bright, but I will adjust that really quick. Let me just, let's see if I can turn down the brightness. There we go. It's a little bit okay, but anyways, this is the wheel by Fanatec, and it is licensed by PlayStation because if you notice, there's the Gran Turismo logo on the horn button, which was supposed to be a horn button, but it's not really a horn button. It has no operating, no buttons or anything. However, this is the brand I went to that is by far, if you want to go big and you want the feel of realism, then Fanatec would be the great starting point to look through all the other special wheelbases and steering wheels as well too. What I love about Fanatec is that they have a wide range variety of shapes and sizes of steering wheels, which means you have different styles of racing. F1, Rally, and of course GT Sports, which why most GT cars I see nowadays, or some GT Sport cars, they would have the steering wheel in the car. Otherwise, it would be the other way around, which would look like a F1 type, like a McLaren steering wheel, which is by far the most popular wheel that you would get on Fanatec. I will link in the description below to Fanatec's website so you guys can check out all their stuff and all their steering wheels, and of course their wheelbase. So the wheelbase I went for Fanatec is a 5 Newton meter Gran Turismo DD Pro, and it is by far one of the best beginner realistic wheelbases. And it is torqued at 5 Newton meter, and I have been using this kind of wheel for a long time, and also the wheelbase as well too. So with that being said, it has been by far the funnest. Like, I've been playing around with the cockpit, the wheelbase, and the steering wheel a lot lately with Gran Turismo, and I have to say it is by far the funnest sim rig I have ever built. And honestly, I could say Fanatec does one heck of a hell of a job to make everything feel accurate. Even though I am running these tech through a very cheap cockpit, which doesn't wobble very much or so. So, yeah, other than that, it is by far a very good reachable part. So, yeah, I'll get back to you guys in a second, and we'll show you guys around the cockpit. So, you've seen the steering wheel, but let's go over the steering wheel very first before we get to the cockpit. So, this steering wheel, of course, you have all your necessary PlayStation buttons, which is the D arrow analog stick, R2, R3, L2, and R2 buttons up here. And a lot of people have been some people have been wondering what these buttons here for. These four colored buttons here. This right here is for adjusting your gas, of how much you want to save on gas. And this is traction control, your brake bias. And this is something right here that you use in Gran Turismo, in Gran Turismo 7, that you do something, use this button for rally racing, which is something I do not use very much or anything at all with rally racing, because I don't do rally racing. I have tried twice, but it's by far not my best sport yet because of the realism when you're having experience using this wheel. But as far as I could tell of my experience, it has been no complaints or anything. However, I did have two pedals, which I will go over really quick. But one is already installed to the cockpit, which is a secondary pedal, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. And so, yeah, first off, I want to show you guys my very first pedals that I purchased a while back before I went to these pedals I set up right down below, which came with the bundle of buying the Fanatec wheels. So I'll show you guys in a second. So these are the pedals I have mentioned before, that these were my first purchase of using these pedals here. However, there is a down point to when I bought this, is the experience with using the load cell brake pedal, which is already pre-installed with the CSL Elite V2 pedals, which I am not really accustomed to because the brake stiffness is super stiff, that a couple days ago it made me cramp up on my hamstring. And apparently for the reason for the stiffness of the brake pedal is to actually enhance your braking technique when you're in a sim rig, or practicing braking technique when you're racing different various types of cars. And other than that, the clutch and the accelerator are very decent and very somewhat accurate in a way. It has a magnetic field right here where you actually, when you press the accelerator, it will actually be very sensitive into the game. But other than that, then it is by far the greatest pedals I ever used. Except I will have to buy some different springs and get rid of these elastomers right here that come with the pedal, and it's like really stiff when I press the brake pedal, and it's not the kindest sensation you will want to get when you are using these. Default, when it's out of the box, when you get these pedals, it is super stiff. Even though I tried different types of elastomers that would make it feel like it's a lot less stiff, but it's still stiff with all the other elastomers that came with these pedals, with this pedal set. And I am planning to modify this pedal because it is by far the most stiffest. I get that, you know, it's supposed to help you to brake properly throughout the whole entire experience when you're using these pedals, and any other kind of racing titles out there through PC or PlayStation or Xbox. So in other words, I would have to say it is still a good pedal, but I just would rather prefer a much more very light sensation as far as pressing against the pedals. So that way I won't cramp up while I'm in my sim rig, because these are by far the most stiffest brake pedals I ever have. So let me get back to you guys in a second again, so I can show you guys the next pedals I have installed into my sim rig cockpit. So I'll be right back. Okay, so these are the pedals right here that I have installed into my cockpit, and so yeah, they aren't like the very best mounting options. As you can see, I have added a zip tie right there in order for it to work, and I had to put one screw in the back behind the accelerator back there, so that way it could keep still. And as far as the wheelbase, yeah, the wheelbase right here, it is by far a it is really this is the 5 Nm wheelbase you have with this wheelbase. As you can see, also again, like the pedals down below, this did not have a good mounting option for it. However, I was actually super glad that these came with a table clamp for this wheelbase. Otherwise, I would have to drill through the holes on this cockpit, so that way I would make an entire mess, and this whole entire room would smell of steel, which this cockpit is entirely made out of. So yeah, in other words, it is by far a good wheelbase, so on and so forth. So as far as uploading schedule, well, I have no idea what's the plan as far as uploading schedule for videos and content for my sim racing journey. However, it is going to be fun streaming again for, you know, sim racing, and I have to say it's going to be fun because I love racing as well too. For those of you that may have, you know, that probably been wondering what I have been doing, it's because I've been working, and I'm not going to get into details with that. But other than that, I am super happy to be back on YouTube, and I am super glad that I get to start my journey as a sim racer, and also sim drifting, because I also have another gaming title that I would like to try out. However, I am missing two other necessities for the sim racing rig, and it is the shifter and the e-brake, which is by far the most two important things if you want to control your car correctly when drifting, and also you know, make it a really fun experience for me to try stick shift. So in other words, I would love to get those two necessities out of the way with my racing cockpit, which is the shifter and the e-brake, which of course I'm also going to get from Fanatec as well too, because by far already Fanatec is like one of my most favorite now sim racing tech brands out there, aside from me trying out Thrustmaster and Logitech. With my experience of doing those, I have seen and tried Logitechs and Thrustmasters at Grand Prix, drifting competitions, because wherever you see a racing event that's like in your own local city, I would go to those and see if they have sim racing areas where you could try out, you know, racing in a sim racing cockpit, which they do. Which is why, hence, I tried out already both Logitech and Thrustmaster, and they're okay, but I want to try out Fanatec, and it has not disappointed me whatsoever when using this as far as realism of trying to drive a car, which Well, I kind of have driven a couple cars, but not illegally, but safe though. But this is by far what is going to get me close to driving a real car. Um, so, yeah. Other than that, I am really excited to start streaming Gran Turismo and show you all the greatest action of racing in Gran Turismo. So, I will be streaming probably tonight, if that's what you guys want to see. So stay tuned, you guys. I will be broadcasting live in just a couple of minutes, so that way I could get everything set and ready to go, and we'll be ready to go to start streaming. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Subscribe to my channel, turn the notification bells so you guys will not miss a single upload in future videos, and also I will put down my TikTok tag down below in the description, and I'll see you guys very soon.